national bus strike is over. Unions are calling on bus drivers to return to work tomorrow after agreement over back pay on a 9% pay hike is reached.
We will not allow THIS to be the killing field of South Africa.
President Ramaphosa calls for an end to political killings in KwaZulu-Natal as he visits the family of slain ANC councillor Nkosi Mchunu. After a violent day of protests on the Gaza border, South Africa this evening recalls its ambassador to Israel. This is eNews at 8. I'm Sally Burdett. Good evening. Well, after nearly 4 weeks, the bus strike has finally come to an end. Unions have reached a wage agreement with employers and are urging drivers to return to work from tomorrow. Last week, unions agreed on a 9% wage increase in the first year and an 8% hike in the following year. However, workers were demanding back pay to the 1st of April. Employers have now agreed to back pay from the 1st to the 17th of April, but only on basic wages. A task team will be implemented to deal with other issues such as night shift allowances.
For the period 1 April 2018 to 17 April 2018, back pay will be paid only on basic wages. This would exclude benefits or contributions to benefits like Provident Fund, like group life assurance. So it's only on basic pay, and for all those employees who came to work during that period.
While drivers are likely to be back behind the wheel from tomorrow, it is expected full service will only resume by Wednesday. Unions are also saying that monthly bus passes will be extended so commuters do not lose out. President Cyril Ramaphosa has condemned ongoing political killings in KwaZulu-Natal. He's visited the home of ANC councillor Nkosi Mchunu, who was gunned down in Pietermaritzburg on Friday. Mchunu was one of 2 ANC members and 1 IFP member killed last week in the province. Over 80 politically linked murders have been reported in KwaZulu-Natal since 2011. President Ramaphosa has directed the Minister of Police, the Minister of Intelligence and the Ministers of Justice and Defence to meet urgently. He wants a report on the status of investigations into the killings. Ramaphosa says the bloodshed must end.
Phansi ngokubulawa ama-comrades wethu phansi. Sithi sifuna ukubulawa kwabantu bethu, inkokheli zethu la kuphele. Kuphele manje ngoba ucomrade Mchunu owesi-14 la kule region. Sifuna ukuthi kungasaphindi kushone muntu. That's why sithe masehle size lapha kulamaviki aphelile kuye kwabulawa abanye ama-comrades. Ucomrade Cele le elower South Coast wabulawa, kubulawe nomunye ilungu le-IFP naye wabulawa. Kwangathi le ndawo labo abangathanda ukuthula bafuna ukuthi kube indawo yokubulawa abantu. Ngeke sivumele lonto. We will not allow KZN to be the killing field of South Africa.
Well, to troubles in another province, and late last week, President Ramaphosa invoked Section 100 of the Constitution, effectively placing the Northwest Province under administration and in the hands of the union buildings. Today, Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Mkize, explained how national government is already assisting and where further intervention may be needed. Our reporter in Parliament, Annika Larson, has the details.
Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Mkize, is managing 12 out of 18 of the Northwest Province's municipalities. He says his department has been in the Northwest since October last year. That's when alarm bells began ringing and service delivery began slowing down.
Our team in Kokta has actually been working in Northwest for quite a while now. And so we're consolidating all of those reports. Once they're all consolidated, we'll be able to table to Cabinet what interventions are being envisaged.
Mkhize is one of the members of the interministerial task team led by Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, who've been asked to be on the ground in the Northwest Province to assess the situation. He says the Constitution, Section 100, has two parts, A and B, and A looks at just issuing directives to a certain department in that province, and B looks at a complete takeover.
Effectively, what it means is that, in the space of a provincial government, there will alongside be departments from national government that will be playing a role, largely supportive, and in some instances they'll obviously have to work together with a particular department, and the authority as to who takes decisions depends on what is the provision of the Constitution that would have been invoked.
So he says ministers in all departments are currently assessing how dire the situation is and how much intervention is actually needed. Annika Larson, Cape Town.
To Verulam in KwaZulu-Natal, the mosque where last week's shocking knife attack occurred is once again a crime scene. Authorities have confirmed that a device found under a chair at the Imam Hussein Mosque last night is an explosive device. On Thursday last week, knife-wielding men attacked 3 people at the mosque, killing 1. Our reporter Desan Thathia has the details on the latest incident.
After an early morning meeting between the explosives unit as well as Hawks investigators, we've now received confirmation that the suspicious item found inside the Imam Hussein Mosque is indeed an explosive device. Although the Hawks don't want to share too many technical details, they say that the purpose of this bomb was to set fire to the area that it's in. But the Hawks are also now looking at a different possibility. They're now questioning how that bomb ended up inside the mosque, considering that the entire area was combed after the incident on Thursday last week, where 3 men were attacked by a gang wielding knives. They're now saying that they're looking at the possibility that the bomb could have been placed inside by someone known to the mosque.
We are asking ourselves, we are looking for the criminals who committed the murder and the attempted murder, yet the explosive is found. Now it is found in the secured place. We are not disputing that it was not found. And somebody took it with the bare hands and throw it outside, and it never exploded. So we have a lot of questions now that we are asking ourselves. However, our investigating team, they will question everybody who went inside there, who was conducting the cleaning.
The incident has worried those who live nearby and is now creating a divide in a once close-knit community.
We can't say them that they need to close the mosque down, but what is happening is our families are getting jeopardized. But if it comes to that they have to close the mosque down, unfortunately, then we have to stand with the rest of the community to have that happen.
For the second time in only a matter of days, the Imam Hussein Mosque is once again a crime scene as the Hawks continue their investigation. Desan Thathia in Ottawa, Durban.
Former Social Development Minister Batabile Dlamini says the Constitutional Court does not have the right to decide if she should personally pay costs over the Banco Sasa contract debacle. Now, last month, Judge Bernard Mwepe found that she'd set up work streams in Sasa that breached government protocol and that she gave ambivalent, evasive and less than satisfactory answers to vital questions around the irregular extension of the contract between the grants agency and Cash Paymaster Services. Well, Erin Bates has the details of the minister's response, which came in a little earlier this afternoon. She's saying the Constitutional Court has no jurisdiction. What exactly is her argument?
Her argument is in fact and in law. She's saying that the Constitutional Court should not overstep its mark and move into the ambit of the National Assembly, and that as a minister in government, it's the National Assembly that must hold her and bring her to book over the social grant crisis and not the Constitutional Court, especially around this question of her paying out of her own pocket.
Sounds like quite a good argument.
It does, except for the fact that the Constitutional Court set up this Section Section 38 inquiry. So it didn't just gung-ho say, you've got to pay up over this crisis. It said, we're going to bank our decision on this, set up a referee who's independent to look into various facts which are disputed, and then make a recommendation. Once we have that report from Ngwepe and we have Bathabile Dlamini's response, we can evaluate the facts on the table and then decide should she pay or not.
She's also saying that Bernard Ngwepe didn't find she acted in bad faith. Is that crucial? Is that basically her saying, look, whatever mistakes I made, they were honest ones?
Yes, in her argument in the papers before the court, that's exactly it, that she didn't do this maliciously. But whether or not that holds water in terms of what the Constitutional Court and its bench needs to decide is another matter altogether. And the fact that they did set up this inquiry and didn't just run ahead and make the ruling suggests that they may well have grounds to say to her at the end of the day, cough up and pay out of your own pocket.
That'll be unprecedented. When are we likely to get a decision?
We don't know. The Constitutional Court has to review all of the different papers before it. The full bench will look at all of these different matters, and then they will let us and the public of South Africa know their decision.
Thank you so much, Erin. That was our reporter Erin Bates giving us the details on former Social Development Minister Bathabile Dlamini's response to an inquiry into the SASSA grants crisis. It found her to be evasive and ambivalent, but she says the Constitutional Court doesn't have the jurisdiction to decide if she should personally pay for that crisis. We've got more news ahead, and as we know, 50 people have died today after clashes along the Gaza border in the Middle East. News this evening that South Africa is withdrawing its ambassador to Israel. The US officially moved its embassy to Jerusalem today. We'll go live to our Washington correspondent for the latest. News that broke just a short while ago, and the South African government has withdrawn its ambassador to Israel. This follows a day of violent action by armed forces along the Gaza border. It released a statement a short while ago condemning the violence which has led to the deaths of over 50 people. Thousands of Palestinians have been protesting a US decision to move its embassy to Jerusalem. South Africa says the violence in the Gaza Strip will stand in the way of rebuilding Palestinian institutions and infrastructure. Pretoria is calling for an independent inquiry into the killings. Well, let's get the latest on the story now from our US correspondent, Simon Marks. Good evening to you, Simon. The violence today in Gaza, two important events. First of all, it is the 70th anniversary of the creation of the State of Israel, and it is the day that the United States has opened its doors in Jerusalem. Is that what has caused this violence?
Well, certainly that was the reason why so many Palestinians were determined to protest today. The fact that President Trump went ahead and officially moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, as he had promised his supporters on the campaign trail here back in 2016 that he would do. Now, this has all happened very quickly. There's some smoke and mirrors involved in this, because all the United States really is doing is renaming its existing consulate in Jerusalem and calling it an embassy. But the price was dreadful violence in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli armed forces killing 52 people, wounding 1,200 others. And if you were watching events here in the United States, you will have seen a split screen playing out on the cable news channels, with on the one hand the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner and his daughter Ivanka Trump on hand for the ceremony at which the embassy move became official, but on the other hand that shocking violence playing out on the other side of the screen.
Of course, for Palestinians, the renaming of the consulate as the embassy in Jerusalem is seen as the United States siding with Israel against Palestine. We've seen strong reaction from the South African government tonight, condemning in the strongest possible terms and withdrawing their ambassador. What other responses have we had? Anything official from the US on the violence?
No, only the comments of Jared Kushner himself in Jerusalem, who said that this further proved that if people wanted to be part of resolving the situation in the Middle East, they needed to embrace the peace process, not the language of violence. But the White House will be briefing here in the next few minutes, and we'll perhaps get more reaction. There has been reaction up in New York, though. Kuwait is calling for an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council to discuss the violence violence meted out at Palestinian protesters by members of the Israeli armed forces over the last few hours. So distinctly possible that some kind of diplomatic moves will follow at the UN to review precisely what took place today.
Thank you so much. That was our correspondent Simon Marks reporting to us from Washington. Latest news now on the whereabouts of members of the Gupta family, and it's been confirmed Jay Gupta is back in his home country of India. The family is attending a Hindu pilgrimage. The controversial Gupta brothers are wanted in both South Africa and India amid corruption allegations. Now, Jay says he plans to return to South Africa. The controversial businessman insists all his dealings are ethical and above board. Our correspondent in India, Rebecca Bundon, spoke to the businessman earlier today.
He blamed the media for creating these stories around him, again denying absolutely everything. I asked him if he had plans to return to South Africa, and his reply was, of course. I asked when might that be, and he said he'd let us know. Then we went on to talk about the pilgrimage, and he confirmed that he does have plans to go on this pilgrimage to a Hindu temple in a holy town in the north of India, in the state of Uttarakhand. That's his plans for the next few days.
Let's recap your top stories this evening. The national bus strike is over. Unions are calling on bus drivers to return to work tomorrow after agreement over back pay on a 9% pay hike is reached. A violent day of protest on the Gaza border. South Africa recalls its ambassador to Israel this evening. It's been a chilly day here in Johannesburg. We'll find out what's in store across the country weather-wise tomorrow after the break. And then wedding fever hits the United Kingdom with just days to go before the royal wedding.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a cloudy and wet start to the work week for the eastern parts of the country, along with low temperatures. And those conditions continue into tomorrow for Limpopo and Mpumalanga, as well as KwaZulu-Natal, especially for the north coast of that province, as this low pressure system will bring persistent rain to the area. There could be light snowfalls for the mountaintops of the Drakensberg once again, and the Highveld is going to be drier, although staying quite cool, while in the west, sunny skies help to warm things up, especially closer to the coastline. And we can see that for the Northern Cape, Alexander Bay with berg winds rising to a maximum of 29 degrees, while much of the rest of the province will only get into the mid to lower 20s. And although the Western Cape is desperate for more rain, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the sunny and warm weather while it lasts. Many parts of this province climbing into the mid 20s. Taking a look at the Eastern Cape, where it's going to be another cold day, especially for the mountainous parts. There could be a few showers in the eastern half of the province, while it will be drier and warmer towards the west. KZN staying mostly cloudy with showers over this area, and as I've already said, we are expecting persistent rain to take place for some areas along the northern coastline, and that continues well into evening. Showers possible for the Mpumalanga Highveld, eMakhazeni and Ermelo staying cold at 13 degrees Celsius, and in Limpopo, wet weather expected for most of this province, especially for the first half of the day, but it is slowly going to clear from the west, and eventually towards evening things will clear along the escarpment as well. Dry all across the northwest, but temperatures are slow to recover. Klerksdorp and Mahikeng both reaching a high of 21 degrees. Another cold day for both Bethlehem and Harrismith, although partly cloudy, there could still be one or two showers in the area. And finally, for Gauteng, there is a very small chance that there could be showers in the province, although most of the day should be dry, and we are expecting it to still be quite cold with temperatures below 20 degrees Celsius. Looking at Wednesday's conditions, it's going to be warming up over the Western Cape with sunny skies, Cape Town and George reaching a high of 27 degrees Celsius. And as we head into Thursday, things will cool down a touch for that area, while a couple of showers could return to both Johannesburg and Pretoria.
And finally, the countdown to the royal wedding has officially begun in the United Kingdom. Preparations are in full swing, with the couple due to tie the knot on Saturday. The wedding of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry will take place at St George's Church in the grounds of Windsor Castle, just outside London. While around 600 guests will attend the actual ceremony, millions more are expected to watch it on television around the world. The couple have asked for guests to give them charitable donations rather than gifts. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will stay at separate luxury hotels in the Windsor area the night before the wedding. Let's recap your top stories. The national bus strike is over. Unions are calling on bus drivers to return to work tomorrow. They also say they will extend monthly commuter bus passes so consumers do not miss out. And after a violent day of protests on the Gaza border, South Africa this evening has recalled its ambassador to Israel. Yep, now on world number 7. And that's a wrap of your news at 8. Take care. Good night.